Hey everybody, Wesley Smith here for Juggernaut Training Systems. Today we're going to be bringing you a special video, a guide to your first powerlifting meet. We're looking for this to be a pretty comprehensive walkthrough of everything you can expect at your first meet and what you can do to best prepare yourself for success at it. So we followed one of our Juggernaut HQ lifters, Dylan Carpintero, a 105 kilo class lifter, coached by Zach Bartell, through his first meet, the USAPL Juggernaut Winter Open. We went step by step with Dylan through the meet. We want to show you all those steps and help you be best prepared for your first powerlifting meet experience. The first thing that you need to do a powerlifting meet is sign up. Lots of people are apprehensive to sign up for their first meet and they feel like they need to be strong enough or reach a certain level before they are qualified to sign up. I think that's a really bad way of thinking to do it, because if you're always thinking, I only want to sign up once I'm strong enough, that idea of strong enough is always going to become stronger and stronger and stronger. You're going to end up never signing up for your first meet. So the first thing you need to do is just jump right into it. Find a meet, sign up, commit yourself to 12, 16, 20 weeks away, whatever it is, that's the day you're going to be ready for. And kind of no matter what happens, unless of course an injury occurs, that you're committed to doing a meet on that day. A couple very good, simple resources for you to find your first meet to do. Powerliftingwatch.com, that's going to have a guide of all federations together, and you can search by state and month and so on and so forth. The federations that our Juggernaut athletes are usually competing in the most are the USAPL and the USPA. So you can go to either of their websites, usapowerlifting.com or uspa.net, find the calendars, sort it by your area, by the month, find a meet that's appropriate for you. Beyond that, signing up is a pretty simple process. You can sign up for your age category, weight category, and of course the correct division, whether you're going to be lifting raw with wraps, raw with sleeves. Different federations have a little bit different rules, but you're smart enough to watch this video on YouTube, so you can probably figure out a simple sign-up form for a powerlifting meet on the internet. Beyond that, as you prepare for your first meet, you're going to want to make a list, check it twice, check it 3 times, of all the different things we're going to talk about in this video, so you're optimally prepared to have your best day and your best experience at your first meet. Getting into what you should actually expect upon arrival at the first meet, step 1 is going to be the check-in. Now, if you're lifting in the USAPL, you'll be dealing with a 2-hour weigh-in, and that check-in is going to be happening just about 2.5 hours before you start to compete. In other federations, most of the time it's going to be a 24-hour weigh-in, so some of these things might happen the day before the meet, but for the most part, same process is going to occur. First thing you're going to need is your federation membership. Make sure that when you sign up for the meet, you also get your membership card, whether it's a physical card or a PDF of it. You don't want to show up to the meet, not have it, not be allowed to compete, or have to pay extra or a late fee or something. So make sure you have your federation membership and a photo ID. That should be the first thing that they have you do in the check-in. From there, it's going to go to your equipment check. Now, equipment check will vary a little bit from federation to federation and what division you're competing in, whether that's raw with sleeves, raw with wraps, single ply, multiply, but your equipment is going to be the most important thing. So now we want to take a step-by-step look at the equipment that you need for the powerlifting meet, what you want to make sure you make a list of, check it twice, make sure you have everything with you when you get there. The equipment check is going to be one of the most important parts of the pre-meet process. Some equipment is required, some is not. Let's just go through the list. Shoes. Make sure you have all the different shoes that you may use. If you wear a different shoe for squat, bench, and deadlift, make sure you have them all with you. Socks. It is required that you have knee-high socks on for the deadlift so you don't bleed on the bar. Make sure you pack knee-high socks. Make sure you have your belt with you, whether it's a single prong, double prong, or a lever belt. Velcro belts are not allowed. If you're competing in sleeves or wraps, make sure that your equipment meets the meet specifications. Sleeves have a maximum length they can be and a maximum thickness. Wraps have a maximum length they can be. Again, you cannot use sleeves that have a zipper, wraps that have Velcro on them, sleeves that have any kind of buckles on them. Your wrist wraps have a maximum length that you're allowed to wear. A t-shirt is required to be worn on the squat and bench press for men and for all 3 lifts for women. Different federations have slightly different rules about that, but just to be safe, just wear a regular t-shirt, not a baseball tee with different materials. The t-shirt needs to be just a standard kind of cotton poly blend is fine, and all one material. Also make sure that it doesn't have any vulgar language on it is they won't let you wear that. A singlet, one ply of material. You can wear a wrestling singlet. You can get singlets from different powerlifting companies. We love the Virus singlets. Use Jug for 10% off from Virus. Finally, if you're competing in the USAPL, there's a difference between what's allowed at local meets and national meets. But because this is a guide to your first powerlifting meet, you're almost definitely competing at a local meet. And while at national level meets or the Arnold, Worlds, there are certain requirements on what companies and what specific products you're allowed to wear. At a local meet, as long as the equipment meets the specifications, the sleeves aren't too long or too thick, the wrist wraps aren't too long, all of that, the belt is of the specified material, length, thickness, all that stuff, you're fine to wear it. And if you're confused, just contact your meet director beforehand, send them an email, or check your federation's rulebook. After you've got your equipment check done, the next step is going to be to find your rack heights. They should have the identical rack to what you'll be using on the platform for you to be able to find the height that the bar goes for you to squat, for bench, and the safety heights for the bench press. Now, just take your time, ask someone if you don't know how to use the combo rack, or if you're using a monolift and you've never used one before, make sure there'll be someone experienced there to help you adjust things. That's just kind of a good rule of thumb for everything going on at the powerlifting meet. If you don't know, ask. Whether it's the meet director, judges, or more experienced lifters, they'll be happy to help you make sure that you're doing everything right. And on the rack heights, even if you screw the height up a little bit and it's one too high or one too low, don't panic. When you get on the platform, if it seems like the bar is too high for you to unrack it or it's too low, just tell them, can I change the rack height now? Since your first meet is almost definitely going to be a local meet, that should be no problem. From there, you're going to go to weigh-ins. The first piece of advice I can give you regarding weigh-ins is if you're doing your first powerlifting meet, don't cut weight. All right, so when you sign up for the weight that you are, not the weight that you want to be come meet time, unless that is a weight class higher than you're currently in and you're massing the best way to live. All right, massing your way into the meet rather than cutting. But don't cut weight. That's going to be, you're going to hear that across the board from experienced lifters. Do not cut weight for your first meet. I know you're probably concerned about like the submasters, raw, push-pull, state record in your weight class, but frankly, nobody cares about that. So just show up, lift at the weight you normally walk around at. That's where you're going to be the most successful and you're going to feel the most comfortable. Your first powerlifting meet is not a day for new experiences. It's not a day for new foods, new supplements, new strategies. So cutting weight would be a new experience for you. You don't want to do that as part of your first powerlifting meet. After you weigh in, and this is whether you cut weight or not, because even if you aren't cutting weight for the meet, you still might not want to have breakfast before you weigh in, assuming you weigh early in the morning, so that you can weigh in light, and if you're right on the border of something, you can make the lighter weight and have a little bit higher formula, whatever. So it's not imperative that you eat necessarily before, but what is important, and this is whether you're cutting weight or not, are the foods that you eat right after weigh-in. And we're going to make another video that's much more comprehensive about just weight cutting strategy and recomping strategy, so how to gain the weight back after you weigh in. Carbs are going to have the most influence on your performance in that meet. Protein has a small role too, as it's going to help you feel satiated, but fats should be avoided after your weigh-in period, especially on a 2-hour weigh-in, as they're going to slow down the digestion of carbs. And carbs are going to be your primary fuel source to maximize your performance in 1 rep max for the squat, bench, and deadlift. So simple, easy to digest carbs are going to be key, as well as making sure that you're properly hydrated. Some of our favorite intra-competition foods are going to be things like Rice Krispie treats, Nutri-Grain bars, rice cakes, bagels. Adding jelly or honey to a bagel or bread is going to be great. Protein is great to help you feel full and satiated throughout the day. Whey protein is going to be good. You could also use a protein-carb combination. Creatine is going to be a great thing to take leading up to and in the meet. Things, really common foods that I see people eating at meets that you want to avoid. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But you know what? Peanut butter is primarily a fat, and it's going to slow down that digestion. Even though the bread and the jelly are great, simple carbs that are going to be easy for you to digest and give you quick energy to perform in the meet, the peanut butter is going to kind of mess it all up. So eat simple carbs that are easy to digest, foods that you've eaten before, foods that you know how your body reacts to. Don't go and read an article about, some new superfood or whatever it is, and introduce a new food that you don't know how your body reacts to because you might have some nerves going. It might just upset your stomach, and that's not something that you want to do not something that you want to introduce to your first day of competing in powerlifting. Hydration is also critical. Again, whether you cut weight or not, you want to make sure that you're properly hydrated throughout the day. Water, Pedialyte is a great option there. If you want to do something like Gatorade, that can be a good option too, but I'd suggest using the powder because the electrolyte balance of Gatorade tends to not be optimal. It tends to be too much liquid compared to the potassium, magnesium, and calcium in it. So I'd suggest using the Gatorade powder so you can get more carbs in that way and more electrolytes per fluid ounce that you're drinking. Also, as a shameless plug, our product from Grind Sports Nutrition, Drive, is designed by the fine minds at RP and has carbs in it and a great electrolyte balance, and is a really good option for you to use intra-competition. The last part of the check-in process is going to be giving your openers. So your first attempt in each lift. First off, it's going to almost always be given in kilos, unless you're competing in some weird backyard federation that still doesn't use kilo plates. Look up your weights the day before, the morning of, on Google. Make sure that you're picking the right weights. They'll have a conversion chart there. But when it goes to picking openers for your first powerlifting meet, be conservative. Set yourself up to have a successful day. You want to go in and make 7, 8, ideally 9 lifts during your first meet, and that starts with taking relatively easy openers. A weight that you can consistently triple is a good suggestion for your opening weights in the squat, bench, and deadlift. That should be probably about 90 to 93% of your 1 rep max, and since you haven't done a meet before, you don't know what your meet PR is, so 90 to 93% of the heaviest legitimate single that you've done in the meet. Not a squat where it's like, oh, maybe that was at depth, not a touch and go, or maybe bounced bench, not a hitched deadlift. 90 to 93% of the most legit single you've done in that training cycle is a good place to start your opener, or a weight that you've done for a 3 rep maximum. After you're checked in, weighed in, given your openers, you're probably going to have a little bit of downtime. That's going to be a good time to keep hydrating, keep eating. Again, you don't need to be gorging yourself before the powerlifting meet. We've hosted a few meets here at Juggernaut HQ, and people are bringing in, an entire container of bagels or a box of donuts, eating what looks like entire meals. A powerlifting meet is not that long, and really is not a higher energy expenditure than regular training would be. You're only doing 3 singles of 3 different lifts, 9 singles. It's not like you're going in to do 10 sets of 10 or something, and you need all of this food. So don't eat an exorbitant amount more than you would before regular training. And you're probably going to want to stop eating or have done all of your eating finished at least an hour before, besides maybe small snacks throughout the rest of the day. So don't go crazy with the eating. So after you've got all that done, it's going to be time to warm up. The first piece of advice I can give you to maximizing the effectiveness of your warm-ups in the meet is be polite and friendly and go find a rack to warm up with other people. The last couple of meets we've hosted here at Juggernaut HQ, over 50% of the athletes were doing their first meet. So even though you know that you're really nervous, most of the other people there are really nervous and don't know exactly what to do either. So go make some new friends, be friendly and polite, find a rack, ask if you can work in, maybe talk to them and see kind of what weights they're going to be taking in warm-ups. So you have a good group to help you, load weights, unload weights. If you have your friends or a coach there, you're going to be in great shape with that. But be polite, share the rack. You don't need to hoard your own rack to be able to do warm-ups for your first meet. You want to warm up similarly to how you would warm up during training. Again, first meets are not the time to try something new. It's not time to try this new warm-up strategy. Or maybe today is the day that you want to unrack 150% of your squat max and hold it, just so you can feel that heavy weight. First meet is not the day to do that. Warm up similarly to how you do for training. It's also better to have too much time to warm up and you need to slow things down a little bit rather than to wait too long to start and have to rush through your warm up. So, in training, time how long it takes for you to warm up, know how long it's going to take to foam roll or do your breathing drills and all that good stuff before you get on the bar. Write your warm up plan down, whether it's on a piece of paper or the notes in your phone. Have something written down that you can refer to. So, if you get a little bit nervous and maybe you forget what you're supposed to do, You can refer to your plan and know every weight you're supposed to take during warm-ups. And as people are there, to help load and spot in the warm-up room, you can tell them, this is the weight that I need next. An example warm-up for an athlete opening with, let's say, a 140 kilo squat, 308 pounds. Usually on the platform is going to be kilos, but at a local meet, it's going to be fairly rare for there to be all kilos in the back room. So likely you're going to compete in kilos and warm up in pounds. But if you're watching this from another country, you'll probably be warming up in kilos as well. So that athlete looking to warm up and take their opener at 140 kilos, 308 pounds in the squat, they might do the bar for 10 to 20 reps, then just to loosen up, just kind of like loaded stretching. From there, do 60 kilos or 135 pounds for a set of 5 to 8. Then from there, 85 kilos, 80 to 85 kilos would be a good next step, maybe 185 pounds. 3 to 5 reps with that. And go ahead and bump it up to 100 kilos, or maybe 225 pounds. And I know that these are not equivalent conversions. I'm just talking about practical numbers that you'd actually put on the bar, whether you're using kilos or pounds. So once you put 100 kilos or 225 pounds on there, 2 to 3 reps, and then 115 kilos, maybe 255 pounds, a single there, a single at 130 kilos or 285 pounds, and then you should be pretty ready to take your opener. You're going to want to be taking your opener, depending on how strong you are, maybe on the short end, 5 to 7 minutes before your opening attempt, and on the farther end, maybe as long as 15, maybe even 20 minutes before your opening attempt. Another good suggestion would be to take that last warm-up, or maybe the last 2 warm-ups, with the commands. And that's going to be the next thing we want to talk about, the rules and commands at a powerlifting meet. The commands and rules for a powerlifting meet are pretty simple, and hopefully the meet you're at, they're going to have a rules briefing about 15 to 30 minutes before the meet actually begins. Go to the rules meeting. Pay attention. If you're confused, ask them questions. I'm going to give you the best advice I can here in this video, but the rules at your meet might be a little bit different than the ones that I talk about here, depending on different federations. So pay attention at the rules briefing. Ask the judges if you have any questions. That's what they're there for, to answer your questions, to help you have the best day that you can. In the squat, typically you're going to have 2 commands, squat command and a rack command. The squat command is going to be after you unrack the weight, walk it out or unrack it from the mono, and show that you have control of the weight. And usually if you kind of bring your head up and acknowledge the judge, you'll then get a squat command. There, the lift starts. There's no up command. I repeat, there is no up command. You just squat on your own. And then you have to show control at the top once the squat is complete, and then you'll get a rack command. And the spotters are allowed to help you back into the rack. But there's 2 commands in the squat, squat and rack. In the bench press, again, this will vary by federation, but at most you're going to have 3 commands. You're going to get a start, press, and rack command. Start command is going to happen after you take the bar out of the rack and control it at arm's length, fully locked out. You bring the bar down to your chest, the bar is motionless on your chest, you'll get a press command. Press commands are going to vary a little bit by federation, but the more quickly that you can bring the bar to a total stop on your chest, you'll get that press command. Finally, after you complete the press, you hold the bar and show control at the top, again, fully locked out, you'll get a rack command and then bring the bar back into the rack right there. Even me at my first powerlifting meet, I jumped the rack command on my first attempt. Luckily, I actually met the rack command. I was racking the bar with no thought to the rack command. It just so happened that he basically said it at the exact same time that I began racking it, so I got a little bit lucky. But no, everyone messes up the commands here and there, but focus on them, practice them, take your last warm-up with the full commands. In the bench press, depending on the federation you compete in, you may have a different situation with the liftoff. In some federations, your buddy, your training partner, your coach can come in, give you the liftoff. In the USAPL, you're normally going to have a designated liftoff person who does handoffs for everyone throughout the meet. If that's the case, just make sure to communicate with them clearly how you count down before you want the bar unracked, how you want your handoff. Just be clear and concise about that. They're there to help you out. The deadlift commands, pretty simple. Pull the deadlift, hold it at lockout until the head judge gives you a down command, then control the bar to the floor. You don't need to set it down like you're, as lightly as possible, but you have to control the bar. You have to keep your hands on the bar all the way to the floor. You definitely don't want to miss a deadlift because you end up dropping the bar even though you were able to hold on to it. So get the down command, control the bar to the floor. In regards to eating and drinking throughout the meet, depending on the federation, the size of the meet, your session is probably going to last anywhere from, on the short end, 3 hours, to I've had meets where I pulled my last deadlift of the meet close to 10 or 11 hours after I began warming up for the squat. So yeah, sort of take that into account, but USPA, USAPL tend to run very strict, quick-paced meets. So on those, you'll probably be looking at 3, maybe on the long end, 5 hours to complete the meet. So you're going to want to take in some more calories and definitely some more hydration throughout the day. Similar types of foods that we talked about eating post-weigh-in, or what you're going to want to stay eating and drinking throughout the day. Again, that's simple, easy to digest carbs that are going to give you fast energy. You don't want heavy foods sitting in your stomach. That you want that glucose getting out into the bloodstream, providing you energy to complete your max lifts. Hydrating with water, Gatorade, Pedialyte, coconut water, Grind Sports Nutrition Drive. All good options for intra-meet hydration. Again, you don't need to be gorging yourself. You're only doing 9 reps that matter. So don't go eating way more than you normally would before training or during a long, hard training session, because you don't want to feel heavy, especially for the deadlift, because you don't want to become a viral video of projectile vomiting onto the head judge. So we've talked about how to warm up for the squat. Warming up for the bench and deadlift might differ a little bit from how you warm up for the squat or how you may regularly warm up during training. Unless you train all 3 lifts during the course of a regular training session, the strategy can change a little bit. The warm-ups for the bench and the deadlift are generally shorter than the warm-up for the squat, because the warm-up for the squat is also just the general warm-up for the day. In the bench press, of course, the warm-up could be shorter because unless you bench and squat the same, which hopefully you don't, the bench press weights are just lighter, so it won't take as many sets to get ready for your opener. Again, you want to take at least 1 warm-up set with the full set of commands, just so you can practice that and be ready, and should take away a little bit of nerves as you get on the platform. An example warm-up for an athlete looking to open with a 110 kilo bench press, 242 pounds, might be the bar for 15 to 20 reps. I like to go through various different grips during my warm-up there just to get a nice full range of motion. They might go to 40 kilos or 95 pounds for a set of 5, then maybe jump to 60 kilos or 135 pounds for another set of 3 to 5, then go to 80, 85 kilos, 185 pounds for a set of 2 to 3, then to 92.5 kilos or 205 pounds for 1 or 2 reps, and then finally 100 or 102 kilos or 225 pounds for 1 single with the commands. That would be an example for someone looking to open about 110 kilos, 242 pounds. In the deadlift, much shorter warm-ups than you'd use in training are generally appropriate. Because you've already squatted and benched for the day, your body, your nervous system is warm. So all you need to do with the deadlift is really warm up the specific movement, and you don't want to be taking away energy. Powerlifting meet can be a long day. It can be, pretty exhausting. So you don't want to waste energy in the warm-up room that you could be using on the platform. So I usually condense a deadlift warm-up much more in competition than what I would do regularly in training. If we have someone who's looking to open their deadlift about 180 kilos, 396 pounds, a warm-up that I would suggest would be 60 kilos or 135 pounds, so just 1 plate for 3 to 5 reps. If you feel like you need extra sets to be able to get into effective positions, do them at that very light weight so you're not tiring yourself out. So if you do multiple sets of 3 to 5 with 135 pounds on the bar, that's fine. From there, they'd want to jump up to maybe 100 kilos, 225 pounds, do a set of 2 or 3 there, and beyond that, it's just going to be singles. If you're looking to open at 180 kilos, 396 pounds, a good jump from 100 or 225 would be up to maybe 130 kilos or 295 pounds, and then you go 160 kilos, 350 pounds, that range for another single, and then go ahead and take your opening attempt in the deadlift. Now we're on to picking your next attempts. We talked about how to select your openers, but once the opener is done, what do you do for your second and third attempts? First off, if you miss a lift on a technicality, jump the rack command, jump the start command, drop the bar instead of controlling it down to the floor, repeat the same weight. It's your first meet, nerves might be getting to you, just repeat the same weight. It's not a big deal. Because you've never done a meet before, every lift you do is a PR. All right, they're all meet PRs. Those are the ones that count. So if you miss something because of a technicality, repeat the weight. If you miss a lift because you weren't strong enough, it was too heavy, repeat the weight. Too many times you see people missing and trying to go up. If you see more experienced lifters do that, they can do that because they're more experienced. But if you're missing either on a technicality or because you just weren't strong enough, repeat the same weight. For someone doing their first meet, I would have 2 numbers written down, 2 numbers planned out ahead of time for each second attempt and each third attempt. Basically a that felt heavy number or that felt good, how I expected type of number. If the weight feels heavy, heavier than expected, not like it was a complete 10 RPE absolute grinder, if that's the case, you could skip the next attempt. But assuming it just felt a little bit heavier than you'd expect, say a 2 to 4% jump. 2 to 4% jump from opener to second attempt or second attempt to third attempt would be appropriate. If it felt good, it felt as expected, you feel strong that day, say a 3 to 6% jump. So again, we're opening in the 90 to 93% range. So if you're taking those smaller jumps, maybe you'd go 91%, 94%, 98% compared to what you'd done in the gym. If you're feeling really strong that day, you go maybe 91%, 96%, and then go for a small PR of 101 or 102% on your third attempt. But again, have a plan. Have a plan for if things don't feel great, have a plan for if you feel really strong that day. And here are just some tips for handling the day. The first tip I could give is stay calm. Don't panic. It's just lifting. If you miss a lift on a technicality, yeah, that kind of sucks, but the world's gonna go on. You're gonna have another attempt. Even if it was your third attempt, you're gonna have another meet where you can make it up. So don't panic. Stay calm throughout the day. Most important tip I could give you is control what you can control and don't worry about what you can't. The tips we've given you here should have you much better prepared. Like I said, making lists, predetermining a plan is going to be very important. The more lists and plans you can have written out, those are all going to be your friend, so you can go into the day as prepared as possible. And the things that you can't control, like if it's hot out, if it's cold, if someone was a jerk in the warm-up room, even if you get a bad call or something like that, just let it slide. Only worry about yourself. Make sure you bring all the right equipment, the right food, you have your plan, you focus on the commands, and that's going to help you have a successful, fun day for your first meet. Finally, as you're choosing attempts throughout the day, take what the day gives you. Of course, everyone would love to go in on their first meet, 9 for 9, PRs across the board, but that might just not be realistic. Whether it's nerves or a problem with the training plan, whatever it is, you might not get to take the attempts that you came in wanting to take or hoping to take. But adjusting those attempts and making 7, 8, 9 lifts rather than going for these kind of reach numbers and coming away with maybe a 5 for 9 or a 6 for 9 day is going to be a lot better to build momentum, to build positivity and confidence as you move on to the rest of your powerlifting career. So take what the day gives you, even if that means that you have to take a little bit lighter numbers than you planned, or you have to repeat something because of a technicality, it's fine. Life will go on. You'll live to lift another day. So in conclusion, hopefully this video gave you some valuable insights to help you have a more successful day at your first powerlifting meet. The other part of having a really successful day is having a good plan leading up to that. If you want to learn more about how to design an optimal powerlifting program for yourself, make sure to check out our playlist on the scientific principles of strength training, where I talk about the 7 most important factors in program design to help you be more successful. Or if you're interested in Juggernaut's online coaching services, we can help you get ready for your first meet. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel. With the new Juggernaut online coaching programs, we've had a lot of questions about which program is right for you. So here's a quick synopsis of our 3 different levels of coaching. First, club programming. Club programming is great if you're just looking to add some more structure, some expert design to your strength training for powerlifting or weightlifting, but probably not the best decision if you're looking to compete in one of the other sports or if you have a specific competition date in mind, as it's just more general, continuous programming. Team programming is our favorite option. Team programming gives you programming tailored to your size, strength, gender, experience, and goals, control over the timing of the training relative to your competition, and access to our team of coaches for video review. One-on-one programming is going to be your best bet if you need very personalized attention based on a unique competition schedule, injury history, or if you're just looking to make sure that everything is built as specifically as possible to you. So we have 3 different levels of programming, and one of them is definitely going to be a great fit for you to help you improve in powerlifting or weightlifting.